Hi, everybody, and welcome to number 28. I am Jill Renee Feeler, and I'm here with Janet Eichorst. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Jill. How are
We
you?
made a. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
We made a promise. We made a promise that we would talk today about, and I'm not sure exactly how to characterize this. I will do my best. How do, let's see, how do I want to feel into this for a sec? How to recognize when we are energetically attaching to another person in ways that are limiting us from being a fuller expression of ourselves. How does that feels good to me? Does that feel good to you?
I can feel this inner like fire just kind of going,
Yeah.
"Whirr, this is so good."
You guys, in my intuitive consulting work, this comes up so often. It comes up with parents that have passed on, by the way. Well, my dad never liked it when, so I'm, and I'm helping them make that connection. So you're always trying to please, this idea of what someone else wanted in you. And then I sometimes am helping them uncover that that was their father, or that was their mother. Or I was always a disappointment to my mother. So I never wanted to break out of the mold that I feel like I was put in as a young child. So I just keep sticking to that because that's where I felt safe. That's where mommy was most happy with me. Anyway, so there's just so many versions of this. It can be with romantic relationships, it can be in career, it can be with money, relationships with money. This is a very, very common theme, probably for everyone on the planet, that they have limiting attachments and ideas of themselves that we can literally free ourselves from. And it's not hard. It is simple. It takes some effort, but the first step is recognizing it.
Mhm. Because a lot of these patterns have been unconscious, I'll say.
Yes. Well said.
And I guarantee you, because we're so habitual in our patterns, those patterns are habitual, that we'll have every opportunity we need to address them, to become aware of them first, and to address them, and to make different empowered choices around them.
Mm.
And that's what I'm going to just consciously open up the field here, consciously, for everybody to receive, to know, to get what they need to experience more freedom in
Mhm.
who they are and release those attachments in very simple, efficient ways. I mean, we're talking grace here. So that's what I'm talking about, calling in
Mhm.
grace to help us on this evolutionary path that we're all on, right? To do that very simply and easily.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you're not one that I would talk about regarding inner child work in particular. Like if I was going to say,
Mhm.
who are the top three people you hear talking about inner child work? It's not you, Jill, and I don't mean that as
Mhm.
respect.
No, it's not my specialty. Yeah.
And I love that you're talking about a version
Mhm.
of this,
About what? I'm sorry.
a version of that, because this is
Mm.
when we're talking about our relational dynamics with our parents. We were children with our parents,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
so this is our inner child.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is shining light on that, but not in the, dig in there and get it out, and this is the worst thing ever, even
Mhm.
though there may be emotions attached with this, and it happens for me quite frequently where I'll get
Mhm.
those electromagnetic charges come up to be released, and I had some really intense ones in the last few days. It was funny. I was actually working, doing some work at my computer, and it was just a level of intensity came up, and I'm like crying and working and
Oh wow.
holding the presence for myself and like, wow, I can really hold all this together and be present to all this at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening. Attachments, old
Yeah.
ideas, old systems were being released and transformed.
And I just want to offer everybody this is different for everybody. You don't have to know that it's electromagnetic. You don't need to know anything about that in order to have a powerful experience. It doesn't have to involve you in tears at all. It doesn't have to be, I want to say, messy in your emotions if that's not your preferred style. You're an adult now, so you can do it however you want to in your preferred manner. I would encourage, though, it requires some courage and bravery because, Janet, when you were mentioning earlier that we're really talking about things that are not within our view. In other words, they are subconscious. They're below some floor within ourselves that we don't regularly allow ourselves access to. Now, Janet, you do allow yourself regular access to your inner slash subconsciousness. Same with me. That's part of why we would even think to host a podcast like this, because we do have not only experience, but expertise in these areas. But I
That's right.
don't want people to have to be reliant on someone like Janet or someone like myself to be more self-aware. So it takes some humility and courage to go, okay, I guess I'm kind of open to what am I hiding from myself? Why? I mean, I'm thinking of examples of women that I know that they won't go to get the mail without makeup on. What the fudge?
Mm.
Right? There are people that are afraid to experience God in a way that is beyond the traditions of their perception of God and what is their faith, right? It takes some giving yourself latitude and uncertainty and trust that you are more than what you are aware of as yourself, as God, as this world, and as other people. So when you kind of walk into an experience of more openness with that, then when you do come across something that you've been in a way hiding from yourself or not willing to see, you can literally you can have maybe that's something important to start. What reaction do you want to have when something in you surprises you? Right? Mine is a chuckle. Mine is this. That's hilarious. Oh my God. I never saw that. I never felt that. I never, like, what? Like, how did I miss that? How did I not know? That's so true. And it's fun. It's like the best conversation with your favorite people in the world that are sharing something so revealing and so personal and so insightful. And you just feel more complete, right? So without some degree of openness to your subconscious, I feel your energy field's a bit more like a postage stamp than a full person. I hope that's motivating.
So you said some incredible things that are very helpful here. Courage, absolutely. Courage. And this is
Yeah, go ahead.
so perspective, I want to put that out there first. Perspective makes all the difference.
Hmm.
And when I will share this because it's been so helpful for so many people, including myself. When I'm in, let me back up a little bit first. So, having a sensory experience here on Earth is a more full experience,
Mm.
and feeling is feeling. So, messy feelings can be part of your experience, and they might not be sort of how you're wired in general in order to release, right? Some people just are like, wow, and they get kind of the mental, like, knowing about
Yeah.
it,
It's more
and
cerebral.
it's more cerebral, and that also allows something else to happen,
Still a
and
shift. It's still growth.
it's still a shift. And what I just want people to kind of be aware of is where you are in your process in terms of your body and your physicality. Because I guarantee you, if you want to experience a version of pleasure, and I'm not talking about sexual pleasure, although that is part of it here that we get to do on this
Hmm.
planet. If we want to really experience pleasure, we need to be in our body. That's part of it. Those sensory mechanisms need to be turned on. And a lot of people, if you're just living in your head, you're gonna live the postage stamp version of your life. So that's one thing I just wanted to point out. Perspective, how we so when I'm in an unconscious pattern, there's looping involved in it, and there's a mental process involved with it, and there could be a smallness generally. For a lot of people, it's ego. It's either like ego, I'm better than everybody, or I'm worse than. But a lot of people, there could be this low self-worth, or it's not okay, or some version of that. So if that comes up, I can still have a perspective, and this could be a breakthrough. That's why I'm sharing this for people. It has been for me and still is when I get into it. So if I'm in that, kind of unconscious, "Oh, what is that?" Some sort of distress or stress, I can still have that perspective that this is not who I am in my totality.
That's good.
And
You are
and
more than your pain. You are more than, yeah,
absolutely. And
or more than
that to
whatever that is.
me is that transforming that very mechanism
Mhm.
because it's been stuffed or stuck.
Mhm.
And it might just be I've had it happen in a millisecond. I've had experiences, it looks like a life review where it's like where I see myself integrating sometimes very painful experiences, right? It's like and they're all just coming into alignment and I'm just like, "Whoa." So that's possible. And
I
I've
have a
also
question. A
been
question
in
for
the
you about that, though.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, the other thing I wanna put out first, okay? And I've also been in experiences where I've been wallowing around the floor in intense emotional pain, and
Mm.
that's how that process needs to complete. And I don't know why it's one way some way sometimes and one way another. So, I don't know. So, I'm putting that out there in terms of there are infinite possibilities about how we can be here more now and whatever those attachments or patterns are, on whatever level they're operating on, we can very efficiently be more of who we are and let them go to be something more. Okay.
When you were describing the flashes of painful experiences, I think you used the word trauma. Did you feel it as adult Janet, now consciously aware of something? Did you feel it in the pain body of the child that experienced it? Or are you experiencing it more as as somewhat neutral observer as adult Janet? Because I've explored a lot of different ways to do this, and that's why I'm asking that question.
It's happened in both ways,
Okay.
but most of the time when that's because this has happened, fairly frequently for me, usually it's in this neutral space
Yeah.
of feeling this communion
Mm.
with whatever God is, which is me,
Mm.
right? That's a
Okay.
version of me. Usually it's in that. And that it's an kind of an example of in the healing community or the spiritual community, we could say
Hmm.
higher vibration melting lower vibration. It could be
Mm.
that, right? That's one way. Transcending, moving beyond, releasing. Those are all valid words to
Hmm.
describe it. And so it's something about that on a soul level, you could say, I'm ready for these not to restrict me anymore or to get in my own way or to take unconscious stuff with me that's not applicable to how I'm going to live from here
Yeah.
on.
I thank you for sharing that because I I was curious if it was one or the other, and I like that you said both because there is again that there's those choices. I'm I'm guessing that for a lot of people that haven't dove as deeply into their subconscious, I would say by allowing it, not by trying. There's not efforting, it's allowing. And that even could be a mantra or a prayer. However you do that. But I am open to being present and aware of more within myself. Giving myself the power and the love to not be afraid of what I might become aware of that I hadn't up to now, right? My revelations, if you will, about myself or about others, etc., um, they never involve a pain body where I'm back there or I'm like, oh God, so it's different for everybody. Um, and I just want to keep kind of reiterating that everybody's going to be different. Um, I I think it's intentional that your work, Janet, and my work and our communities include professional mental health experts that have joined willingly, sought out our work, sought out our communities because they are realizing the limitations of their profession, of their training, right? And what's supposedly the best knowledge and wisdom about how to be a better human. They feel that limitation every day in their work with their patients and their clients. And I think soulfully they recognize there's more than this though, right? I mean, this isn't even working for this one, you know what I mean? And this patient, this client deserves better. So what else is there? And then they start exploring, maybe within themselves, maybe with work and gifts like yours, maybe with work and gifts like mine. So I remember feeling a bit shocked. I wasn't raised in a therapy type world, and I kind of envy in a way those that were, even though their reasons may have been like, no, you don't, like, no, if your family didn't have to go to therapy, like, oh, that's good. But the skills that they may have learned at a really young age, they're very sophisticated and very advanced, right? Is I think that's a silver lining for sure. So I
Right.
didn't know what was happening in those worlds, but I was shocked and kind of pissed off when I heard that no, they'll bring you back. They have their the thought in most mental health traditions is they have to bring you back to the pain. You have to re-experience the pain. You have to go back to the wound and almost relive it in order to bring it into your consciousness and then heal it and process it, etc. And I'm like, oh God, no, that's not in my soulfulness. That is number one, not true. You do not need to relive it. You do not need to re-experience it, but it can be helpful to be aware of. And there are instances where you can keep it locked up safe and tidy in the closet while the rest of you is given permission to flourish and not drain any more energy into protecting something that you for whatever reasons don't want to face. You're not there anymore. You're here now. You don't have to go back there, whatever that is that you're trying to avoid. Anyway, so just wanted to.
Yeah, I would say 33 years ago, there was a lot more re-experiencing, and that, for whatever reason, that's the way it worked out for me, and I think it was I don't think I'm alone in this because no, I don't think I am, and it doesn't mean everybody did it that way either, or you had to 33 years ago, but there was a lot more of that level of processing, and now it's so different for me, and there is a uniqueness and there is a wisdom. There's a wisdom for each of us, and it's that divine wisdom about the way that's most fitting. I love that you brought up some of the other professions, and I've heard the term psycho-spiritual, and I listened to some people talking about psycho-spiritual, and I hadn't really had, a ton of exposure to, like, the therapeutic models or a lot of different therapeutic models. I have, but not I've never dove into those and studied them, right? But it was interesting hearing about the spiritual aspect of that because whether they're priests, whether they're ministers, whether they're psychologists, without some component of whatever you want to call source frequency, God, universal consciousness, that stuff can just be cerebral. And we're so much more than that. And even allopathic medicine was created studying
Mhm.
dead bodies. And so there's a component to that level of spiritualness and life force energy that's vital to the entirety of our experience here on this planet. And to deny that to any capacity, doesn't, that's not it, man. You're kind of missing you're missing aspects of yourself. And you might not even look at it through a religion and spirituality, two different things. The spirit is the spirit, its essence, right? Religion is something else entirely. It's
Practice. To me, it's the practice.
it's the practice of it, right?
The
So
practice of experiencing them. Yeah.
and it's different, but we all have a spirit. Otherwise, our bodies wouldn't be animated.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I have a metaphor, and I offered this to a family member that was stuck a little bit in the situation of Chris having passed. And Chris loved candles, and we were at her and David's house still. Um, and I was like, "Look at that candle over there!" And it was an unlit candle, the soot, the black, all around in the inner glass. And I said, "Would you or anyone look at that candle right now and just go, 'That's a beautiful candle. Love that candle.'" And they were like, "No." And I'm like, "Why? It's not lit, right?" So there's this, it's very simple, but very real metaphor that what makes us beautiful, alive, lively, vibrant, noteworthy, comment worthy, it's the flame in the candle. Anyway, it's so simple. And I don't mean to be cliche, but I love that metaphor in terms of what you're describing here. We all are, it is the flame in each of us as alive beings, which isn't just when we're here. That flame in the 3D looks like it went out. That flame is literally eternal in terms of the eternal aspect, the infinite aspect of who and what we are as spirit, as souls.
Mhm. And that the power in that is infinite. It truly
Mhm.
is infinite.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
if you can have any inkling of giving yourself permission to let that flame be more than your human mind or any sort of your mind thinks it is, you can do things all your it's like, "Whoa." That's where life gets psychedelic on some level, you know?
Right? Yeah, I get excited about these topics because it seems like everybody, I would think that most people have some degree of interest in what is available within them that they're not currently aware of and that they're not currently accessing. And there will that's an endless treasure trove. And I love that part. And I love that it doesn't require anyone outside of you. You can literally just start to thin, some people would say thinning the veil, thinning the barrier between you as this and you as something much more.
Yeah, and, to kinda continue with the metaphor a little bit, we have a flame within our physical bodies, but
Mhm.
the flame that we are is so much bigger than that, right?
It's huge. Like a star, literally like our closest sun. I would give it at least that much energy.
Yeah, well, yes, I could talk for a long time on that. The the point I wanted to make here is that biggerness that we are is here.
Mhm.
So, if anybody has any trepidation or fear of looking inside, think about that. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Think about that eternal flame, your flame that you are outside of you supporting you. That's been unconscious to a degree too.
Mhm.
And that is unconditionally love based. That's how our universe is created out of that essence of unconditional love. So when we think about exploring those arenas, we can literally create what sort of metaphors or imagery. The one I just got was I walk often at night with my headlamp on. So
Mm.
if I think about the imagery and the metaphor of that headlight being my divine essence and that incredible essence of unconditional love, of
Mm.
source frequency, illuminating my insides and literally allowing myself to see what's there. And the thing is, it's been there. sometimes I get this idea that when I see things inside, like it just started, I'm like, no, like it doesn't matter whether you see it or not. If it's
Yeah.
operating, it's operating. Just because you
Uh-huh.
see it doesn't mean you created it. It means it's been there operating and you want to see what it is so you can make better choices about what's working and what's not working. And
Yes.
that's where those attachments get like zapped, transcended, blasted with such light that they can't exist anymore.
Oh, it's so true. And the level of connection you can have with yourself is directly related to the connection you allow yourself with others, your children, your neighbors, your friends, your loved ones, everybody you care about, and even strangers on the street. It is directly related. So when anyone is sort of like, well, why do I need to thin some layer and have more access within myself? Because it's useful. And it isn't about necessarily healing or processing trauma or pain, or it doesn't have to be about that. Your motivation can be, I want to be a more enriched, alive, fulfilled person for my enjoyment and for the relationships I have with others.
I don't want it to be so damn hard to write my book. I don't want it to be so damn hard to
Oh,
do my chores. I don't want it to be so damn hard to whatever it is, right? Because
mhm.
that's really what that stuff is limiting. And because it's
Yes,
unconscious, I can't
it's
see.
everything.
It's as if you're going down a road and there's a big
Yeah,
log in the way and you have to like try to get over it and you don't even know because you can't really see it, but you just know it's harder.
yeah, yes. Yeah. I'm trying to feel into what might be most useful for people, because I hope they're motivated. I don't know if I can say anything more in terms of motivation, but we if you search our podcast for relationships, you'll probably get a good list of other kind of tips for more meaningful relationships and connections with others. um I guess, and where are we at in time? Yeah, we're getting close.
Yeah. I just wanted to share because this kind of came up in the last one. We were intimacy.
Mm,
What really intimacy
mm,
is.
mm-hmm.
Because I mean, this morning when I was, there's a park across the street and there's a gate. So I opened the gate and I was like, wow. I mean, I opened the gate and then I had this knowing about intimacy. How, and it was very much what we're talking about. I was, it just came to me. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that that level of intimacy with the people I really care about, how I'm limited in that way. And
Mm,
it was an old pattern that I'd had that it's a level of safety. I didn't feel safe in intimate relationships because of some of the past experiences I've had in my human body.
mm,
And so it was another layer of that I just had insight. Why in that moment? I don't
mm-hmm.
know. I'm always open to that. And I had a group call this morning, and so we were, I shared some pretty intimate things on that call. And so I think that was the impetus for me to be like, wait a minute, intimate relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Who do I share my stuff with? Do I share and do I allow myself to receive and talk about the things that are really close to my heart with the
Mm-hmm.
people that are there to share that with? Because
Yeah.
sometimes I won't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that unconscious patterning of safety. I just want to say safety, 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 safety that we can have within. And there's so
Mm-hmm.
many things that have threatened that. And a lot of that unconscious patterning has gotten in the way of me knowing that I'm okay, that
Mm.
I'm always okay. Wow.
Yeah,
So everybody just let go of anything
that's good.
that has kept you from being safe, a memory, a trauma, a thought, a belief system, right? You
Disappointment, being let
dis-
down. I mean,
yes,
everything. Yeah.
you are in the driver's seat now. You are in the driver's seat with that illuminated light within you to make choices here.
Yeah.
And those are just other forms of attachment. That's all they are, and a lot of times they will elicit fight or flight within people because that's what those old patterns are. The patterns are literally a flight or flight mechanism, fight or flight of your neurological system. It's just a pattern that's not applicable for the situations that you're present to now. Let that go deep, everybody. Let that go as deep as it can go right now with that
Let it
illuminated.
fall. Let it fall within you.
Absolutely.
Don't mine it. Just let it sink.
Mhm. And breathe, breathe, breathe.
Mm.
Think about how air is important to fire, right? Without oxygen. So let that breath, let it fall. And this is your choice, man. This is you going for it for you and allowing that illuminated light to be so beautiful, so
Mm.
powerful, and whatever you need for it to be and want it to be for you. Wow, that's powerful. My forearms are sweating.
Mm.
It's energy moving here. Ooh, even my face is beginning to sweat. Wow, good job, everybody.
Great job, you guys. Thank you for that, Janet. That was, I could feel this. For me, it felt like softening. I didn't feel a heat sensation, but for me, I just felt a gentleness. I
Mm,
felt a less strict. I felt rules kind of softening and structure softening in a good way. More openness.
so good.
You guys, from an expectation standpoint, it's okay to sort of ask, put in the request to yourself for pleasant revelations, joyful revelations of, wow, maybe I am good at that. Maybe I am a good listener. You know what I mean? It can be a compliment to yourself where you've been really hard on yourself. We all have different, I mean, some people would say wounds to heal, which is fine and can be very true. We also have giftedness we're not appreciating and enjoying within ourselves. So we might be limiting our own strengths and capabilities and lovability from ourselves and from the world and from the people that matter most to us. I think that's a
Mm.
huge opportunity for further unveiling.
And just in case you didn't hear Jill say this in the way that I did, I wanted to verbalize that our gifts and our ability to listen and our ability to be compassionate, those we can use with ourselves. They're so often turned outward. And so we turn those inward because they're so valuable. That's complete ridiculousness when I think about it. Like, oh,
Totally.
I listen to you. Oh, yeah, and in the meantime, it's like, "Wait, where did Janet go?" Like, I don't do that in here. Like, what my insides.
Because who's the person that you will spend the most time in your life with? It's you. It's always going to be you, right? Your whole ride is you, right?
But
So in just playing with that more, and I mean, I love to make people laugh. I think it's hilarious that to walk the talk that you're giving, Janet. I love to make myself laugh with my own ideas and thoughts. Is that borderline not normal? Probably. I don't care. I'm really funny. I have really funny insights. I go, oh my God, I hadn't thought about that. You know what I mean? Of course, I don't say those words. I just go, if you see me go, something's going on in here that's probably actually really good. Like something I would share. And you guys would go, oh, like it wouldn't have the same meaning. But to me, it's a major chuckle and a major revelation. And I love that.
I think that's why we relate to each other so well, and our
Hmm.
synergy is so matched because I've if you guys saw the processing I did 33 years ago, you would be like, "Get me out of this place."
Oh.
Quite literally. I mean,
Mm.
it was grueling and it
Mm.
lasted for years, and I couldn't do it any other way, right? And what I know is underneath and who I really am is this buoyant joy and
Mhm.
deep heartedness, you know, deep heartedness. But there's this flavor of joy that I think we all have our version of it inside.
Mhm.
And humor is such a transcendent experience. And
Yes.
that's not spiritual bypass. That's not avoidance. That's like being fully here in my body. Because when I laugh, my belly goes and it's kind of shakes now. I have a little bit of belly, a little bit of muffin top right now.
All
You know,
right.
it,
More
it,
to
it
love.
shakes, right? And it's a physical experience. And it's incredible. And so I love that we can get on here. And when I laugh about serious things, I think it's the best thing ever because I'm not dismissing
Mm-mm.
anything. I'm grabbing all of me on a different level and saying, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
You'd mentioned in, I think it was episode 26, about reincarnations and lifetimes. And it's totally okay if some people here don't believe in reincarnation. I don't feel like they have to get a lot out of this experience.
Yeah.
There was, I wanted to expand on that given this topic of, growth and getting out of our own way and experiencing ourselves into the subconscious, which doesn't have to be dark and scary. It can be very enlightening and revealing and purposeful for being more of who and what we are at our best and offering that to our loved ones and to the world. Okay. What we're describing here in very welcoming, non painful ways of self exploration and allowing more inner awareness is something that is akin to having multiple incarnations. You don't have to wait to pass and then create a whole new you to have a whole new life to learn a lesson or get insight or have new experiences. You can keep diving into the treasure trove of the limitlessness of who and what you are in this lifetime. And you may never want to come back here, and you don't have to. In my view, you never have to. So to give this incarnation way more credit for being completely transformational and transcendent in an even more empowered way than how most people that are spiritual or metaphysical or religious talk about a worthy, purpose driven life. You guys, this is next level. To me, this is next generational types of skills and insights and awareness to utilize because it's been taking way too long. And that's one of my criticisms, I think, as a soul about this reality is why does it take so long? To get from point A to point B. I mean, I see the effort, I see the goal. I mean, they're so dedicated to it, and yet it's real. Why are they making it so hard? It's partly why I do what I do because I'm constantly experimenting with that process within myself and with my client work and through messages and podcast experiences like this with you, Janet, just offering, what if you tweak this? What if you tweak that little thing? What if you look at this differently? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this is way easier than I thought it would. You guys, that could have been 5 lifetimes of views trying to figure that out. And you just did it in one effing podcast episode.
Mhm. Absolutely. The reincarnational ability, and I mean reincarnation, a completely different operating system in this same body. It's reincarnational, and some people might experience the memory of not being able to do it without dropping the body. And if that happens, you just tell yourself you're doing it without dropping the body now, because that
Mm-hmm.
had been what we were doing on this planet, and we're not doing that anymore unless you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to.
You
The
can,
one
yeah,
you can
you can. It's
do whatever the hell you
very,
want to do.
it's filled with problems. The reincarnational model to growth that you would have to reincarnate to get new growth, new experiences, a totally transcendent you is highly flawed, very problematic, and regularly disappointing to us as soulfulness. That is why I am degrading it in a lot of ways because I don't respect it. I don't. And it's not, that I'm anti-Hinduistic or anti-Buddhist or any of those things. I feel like a part of a team of souls that is like, we got a problem with this model, and now
Mhm.
we're in a timeline of Earth and humanity where they are glorifying that model as well. If we just drop our Christian traditions and we adopt these other cultural models, then we'll get more growth. And I feel those cultural, soulful kind of representatives going, oh, hang on, because we've got problems over here too. We need a whole new model. The humans deserve a whole new game board, not just flipping sides and pieces and all that stuff. We needed a whole new game board.
Oh god, I just had this huge wave of sadness come through because of the level of suffering that
Yes.
we have
Oh
endured.
my God.
Not necessary anymore.
And blinded faith. So many times, almost endless amount of times, that human beings have said, I thought I was doing it right.
Mhm.
I thought it would work. Why didn't it work? I thought if I did this, I would get that. I was told if I was just this, then I would be that. And what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, and the what we're getting to do now is do it for ourselves inwardly.
Hmm.
That's what we're talking about, dropping the attachments, making that choice for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I just gotta we're getting close to time here, but I wanted to
Hmm.
share this is and it won't leave me alone, this vision, so I'm gonna share it. So, when we're talking about looking inside, and we're talking about this, light that we are, before you even go in there, just turn the light switch on,
Hmm.
literally. You literally envision I saw a little, those pull lights? That's the way I saw it. But you can
Those
create whatever kind
closets from the
exactly, those
1960s and
old ones.
earlier. Clink, clink.
You
Yeah.
just click, click,
Clink,
click,
clink.
and sometimes that can be helpful. But, yeah, a light switch, a dial, if
Hmm.
it's not light enough for you to be present to something that's inside you that's hard to see, just turn the light up. Like, that's literally
Hmm.
an option here, and you have the power
Hmm.
within you to do that,
That's so good.
right? So
I'm
however you
gonna
can turn that light on.
Yeah, I'm gonna offer it to those that are because you're very brain focused too, but you have other wiring that adds so beautifully to your brain. I love to offer little brain cues though. So for the brain cue, it could be just because I don't know it doesn't mean it's not illuminated.
Mm,
Your brain doesn't give it light. It was already light.
yeah.
Okay? Nothing that we're encouraging you to let yourself suddenly see or suddenly know
Mm,
has to be dark and scary. Again, you're the adult now. You're
mhm,
not asking 5-year-old you to go mining for these knowings. You're the adult now. Bring your transcendent soulfulness along with the adult experiences and hopefully confidence you have. Bring that into the unknowing that is available within you.
mhm. Ooh, can we just, like, do a little meditative thing here where people can just release, let go, let it drop out? Wow, and I see it going downward this time, just letting it literally ooze out of you, and some of it might look a little dark for people, just let all that go. Out of your bone marrow. Oh, wow. Ooh, out of your bones, your bone marrow, your muscles, your cells, your organs. Your organs do not have to hold on to anything
Mm-mm.
that's not life-giving. They're designed to operate in vitality. Ooh, your spine. Yeah, relax your shoulders, your neck. There's so much love here and so much power, I want to say. And that's not power over, that's real and that's love based. Compassion, always here for you internally and externally, quite frankly. And that's kind of that gap that we're dissolving, right? The gap between the external and the internal can just be you illuminated. Thank you for that. Wow. It's like a lot of higher mind, I'd call it, come in, just more kind of divine wisdom and knowing. It's more of a remembering. It's beautiful. So appreciate everybody.
Mm, good stuff. Thank you so much, Janet.
Ah, you're so welcome. I hope everybody found something in here that's an illuminated gem, in plurals, illuminated
Mm.
gems, to bring you more peace, more freedom, more joy, and more of that soulful satisfaction.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for allowing yourself to be more than you could ever imagine that you are, and letting that be a sense and a source of joy for you and for those in your life. All right. See you later. Thank you. Thanks, Janet.
Thanks, Jill.